So before we get into like some of our favorite games, we're gonna do a little fun segment because I remember when we were talking about this, we planned this out like 4 weeks ago, and you were asking me. I think you said Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I got a hot take. Like, Twisted Metal is not a horror game. So I just want to list a couple.
Right.
And ask you, like, are these horror games?
Gotcha.
And if you could come up with a couple for me, fine.
All right.
But you brought up Twisted Metal. So what's your beef? Because first of all, I've never thought like, oh, that's one of the best horror games. Right. But you brought it up, I was like, is it a horror game? I mean, it's more of an action game.
So, because when I was a little kid, right? Did you watch the commercials for it?
No, but I remember being scared of like the discs, like the cover, all the little clowns.
I remember Black being so Black's the one I give it. I'll give it to Black.
Everybody likes Twisted Metal Black.
I'll give it to Black. Black is straight up like I think the horror one.
Okay,
that's the spooky one. Like that's the one that's like dark. And like can I spoil Twisted Metal Black?
The 20-year-old game? Yeah, go for it.
2003 or whatever. That one's creepy because like all of it is like because Twisted Metal 1, 2, 3, right? You win, you get a wish from Calypso, right?
Right. It's like a tower in any fighting game.
Exactly. And like the reason why when I was a kid I thought it was horror because of the aesthetic of it. Okay. It was like warehouses and like power plants and like junkyard.
Nothing scarier than a power plant.
Well, because like back in this is like boomer shit, but like there weren't much like to the graphics. So like,
oh no, yeah.
So like the fog of war and like the way the game was all like, there wasn't like field of vision down all the way. It was like fog and like you didn't know anything and like you got killed. I think it was mainly the racers and drivers that like creeped me out because it's like, oh, it's like Meathead and like, oh, it's Sweet Tooth and like Dollface and like all these creepy like gimmicks. And as a kid, that scared the shit out of me. Like I played it at my cousin's house. We played 2 and 3. And that one scared me. I mean, once you play the game, it's like, oh, this is fun. Right. It's like
because like I'm mentioning, I remember seeing like the PS1 Twisted Metal era and maybe not PS2, but yeah, PS1 and seeing those covers and being scared of them at whatever Video Depot or whatever. Yeah. Hollywood Video. Right. But no, like when I started playing them, I was really into them. And then I got into Twisted Metal Black. And like I never thought Sweet Tooth was scary or anything like that. I thought it was cool. So another one, is Bloodborne a horror game?
See, it can be. I think the only issue is
it's
like
spooky.
There's some like issues, right? Where I think in horror, where it's like we want to be horror, we want to be scary, but then it hits like we're cool, and like once you hit the cool level, I'm like it's gone. Horror's gone.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm never like scared in Bloodborne. Yeah, but there's one part. With those giant ass spiders. Yeah. That are, because you fight a bunch of giant spiders, whatever, that's fine. You run into one or two. Right. But there's one where you go into a room and you need to go through the room because you're like dying. It's a time thing. Like you're dying and you need to get like past all this. I remember this, And then once you enter like the room and it's all like, it's like a castle. It's not just like a house. It's like a castle. And you look up. There's like 20 giant spiders all hanging. And the thing is, like, when you pass a spider, it drops. It comes down, and then you have to fight it. Yeah. So there's like 20, and then immediately I was just like, oh, hell no. Yeah. But because you're dying,
you have to. Yeah.
I just sprinted past all of them.
They all come down.
I just ran. Yeah, they're all falling down around you. Hell no.
I remember that. Because I remember, like, in Bloodborne, I was, like, trying to figure out, because it was my first Souls game.
Me too.
And I was trying to figure out, like, what the aesthetic of it was. Because it was like, oh, it's kind of Victorian and like
gothic.
Yeah, gothic. And it's like, oh, it's vampires and shit. And like, you're a vampire? Because like you get your health back. And I'm like, oh, so it's a vampire game. Ugh. And then it's like, no, it's more than that. It's like, once you scope it out, it's like, oh, this is like a, what's it called? Lovecraftian. It's like, it's like gods and like slug things and like Cthulhu's and shit. Because like, have you gotten the secret ending?
I don't think so. Well, there's 3 endings,
there's
right?
3 endings, yeah.
Well, I got the platinum, so I must have seen it, right?
You probably would have gotten it, yeah, because if you got the platinum.
I was just grinding, dude.
Yep.
That was like 3 weeks of my life, Bloodborne. Well, just on the weekends, but it was like 3 weekends of no life.
I love it. Yeah, because I think it's too cool to be scary. Because like it has scary moments.
So your answer is no.
I don't think so, because I think
that's 2 in a row. No Twisted Metal, no Bloodborne.
I don't think, because like I think it's too. Its aesthetic is too good to be horror. It has horror like moments,
elements,
yeah. Like there's parts where I'm like scared, but then I'm like, oh, this is like when it's like, I think it's more scary in the beginning when there's mobs and there's like werewolves and it's very like contained,
right?
And it's like that's when I was scared.
So you think once it expands to gods and all that, it's
once
too much.
It's there, I'm like, no. Now I'm like I'm like a little slug god, and like, and I got my little puppet goth mommy like taking care of me.
So next up, I based off what you're saying, you're already gonna say no, but just for the segment, Mortal Kombat.
So I remember
it's a horror game.
So I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna bring up Mortal Kombat because that's a game that did scare me when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
You're such a baby.
I am. Because
bravest man I know. He grew up to be a brave man.
Because I remember playing 2 in the arcades, and that's just like 1v1, like nothing like story element or anything. Right. I thought Scorpion was cool because like his skull was like the scariest part.
Skulls are scary now.
I thought
they're spooky.
When I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, spooky. His skull's on fire. And then like I get into the story games and I'm like, oh, these are cool. Like these are like, this is a cool game. We've talked about it in the fighting game one. I skipped over Armageddon and the other one, but 9 actually, like the story of 9 and like the aesthetic of 9 did scare me. Like I remember, I remember grinding out the crypt.
You're like, these animations are awful. Oh.
That's the thing. I was like, oh, gross. It's like so gory and like, and that's, you know, what makes it Mortal Kombat. Yeah. So I can't really complain about it because it's always going to be that. But I remember like the first time I was like, oh, that's fucking gross. Like the first time seeing the face, because like that's the thing. I want to go back to original Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 and 4, where like those were comedy. Like those were,
well, they definitely have comedy in them still, but
yeah, I feel like it's been toned down and it's more
that's so funny because like people were criticizing MK1, the new Mortal Kombat that came out, for not being violent enough.
Really?
That they're holding back.
Crazy. They are crazy. One of them turns into a pretzel. And his face slumps down. Like that one's creepy as shit. Like that's crazy to me.
I can't put that in here, by the way. I would get demonetized. Yeah. Even though I'm not monetized yet, I at least want to practice monetization. Exactly. So sorry guys, look it up.
For the old like videos you get, they get monetized.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Look up Mortal Kombat 1, Reiko.
It's Reiko, right? His
second fatality.
Yeah, that's the creepiest
and enjoy.
I hate that one. Because like I remember when I was playing 9, I was like doing the crypt, I was doing the story mode, and like the vibe it does and the horror that it does is like kind of creepy to me because it's like skulls and like zombies on the ground, and like you have to like to buy something in the crypt. There would be like somebody like hung.
Yeah.
And you have to go and like it'd be they'd be hung and like they're like and they like be making noises and shit. And this is like I'd be playing this at like 1 a.m. and I'm like, what the fuck?
And then in the crypt too, where you unlock everything.
Yeah.
There's a jump scare monster that pops up too.
It's like a completely random like there's no way to like trigger it or anything. It's like
it's random. It's like PT, that girl.
Yeah, you just have to like stay in the crypt for a bit. And then, like sometimes it'll just show up.
They did that in MKX too, which is worse because then they had spiders.
Oh, great!
That would jump up, and they had a whole spider area to unlock stuff. So you're already like seeing, like hearing, and all these spiders going around, and then once in a while, yet one would jump scare you.
Yeah, because I feel like Mortal Kombat can be a horror game if it wanted to. Like it could be a good one too. Like it could be a good horror game, if it wanted to be. Like. But for some reason, it wants to stay in like the cool casual market, and so it doesn't lean too heavy into it. But I see elements of.
I mean, they got horror characters in MKX. Like that's their whole thing.
Yeah. Because I remember them adding like Alien and Jason. And
Jason. Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw. Mm-hmm. They added Freddy Krueger at MK9. You know who they're gonna add in this one?
I think I saw. Aren't they gonna add fucking Scream?
Yep, Ghostface. Now it's in the file, so sorry guys if it doesn't come true. But there's code. Audio. Yeah, it's in the code already. And then Ed Boon put out a tweet the other day, with like a bunch of serial killers with like check marks and then like X's over who hasn't been in there yet.
And then I saw that Ghostface was in it.
He was dead center.
He was like right in there,
right?
And he was surrounded by like the check marks. And then they like had like Chucky in the bottom right, and I'm like,
well, he could be an assist character.
That's the thing. So I'm like, either
that'd be cool.
Either they're doing it as like a teaser, because it's not in the code, he's not in anything, or it could just be like a red herring.
That too.
Because isn't Puppet, Saw Puppet?
Oh, Jigsaw?
Yeah, isn't he in that picture as well?
In the picture, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think those are the red herrings. Because Ed Boon teases stuff, but he also doesn't like promise something and then doesn't deliver.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at it, okay, Ghostface is dead center. We already found out last week. Like he knows what's been leaked to. So they're having fun with it. Last one. Have you played Gone Home?
Gone Home?
It's an indie game.
No. But indie game equals horror, yes. Like any.
Well,
that's the one.
Let me tell you about this one.
Okay.
Very quickly. This game is set up like a horror game, even like the picture of it, like it's an indie game. I think it's like a purple, it's like dark colors on the cover. It's called Gone Home.
Right.
You play this one girl who comes home from college.
Okay.
Nobody's home, and you kind of like put the story together. So you hear like voicemails, and I don't remember the story too well. I don't know like the whole thing, but I know the concept. So it's kind of like a horror game. Like you hear stuff creak, and you're reading notes, and then it's just like, oh, go to the secret compartment where we used to play and all this, and then you go in there and there's a Ouija board. So you're just like, oh no, and then it's a very short game. You probably beat it in like 3-4 hours,
right?
And it's like a puzzle game, whatever. And then it finally gets to the point where like you're trying to find your sister, your younger sister, and then she's like it gets to the point where her hangout spot's like the attic, but you can't get in there. But eventually you find a key or something, and then like the stairs lower, and then it's all red up there. Like there's a red light. So it plays out like a horror game. But when you go up there, she's not there. There's nobody dead, nothing like that. Like you like read another note, and she's like running away from home because, and if I remember correctly, I could be completely wrong. If I remember correctly, it's because she's gay.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and she's like running away like with her girlfriend or whatever. And I think that's the whole point, is that it's actually an LGBTQ plus video game, but like it's about like it pretends it's a horror game,
right?
But so now that you know that, if it's a horror game for 95% of it,
and then the last 5%, it eliminates it.
Does it?
In my mind, yes.
But you were scared the whole time.
In my mind, if you are a horror game for like 80% of the game, but then at the end you do a kickflip or something super sick,
it turns to a Tony Hawk game.
It turns to a Tony Hawk game. It's the way I see the Resident Evil games. I don't know if Resident Evil.
We'll talk about Resident. We have to.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna be in there for a bit.
Shit. It's gonna go on for 3 hours.
3 hours on Resident Evil. I think it's so cool because like it is a horror, like it's a horror genre game and whatever. I think it's way too cool. I think it's way too cool to be a horror game.
So, what I just said, or just in general?
Resident. Well,
you're going to Resident Evil.
Yeah, but like it's kind of that where it's like if it's 95% horror for like a while, but then like it like subverts something in like the last 10% or like the last 5%, and then it becomes cool or like it becomes like another game. I eliminate it from my mind as a horror game because now I know the twist. I know the.
And all I can hear is criticize.
I'm vetoing your opinion.
You think so?
If I'm scared for 95% of the game and then it changes, that's a horror game.
That's still a horror game to you?
That's a horror game.
I don't know, because I know the twist now. Like, if I know...
Well, now you do.
Yeah, because like...
My bad. Sorry, everybody, if you wanted to play that.
Because if like... At the first run, yes, I'll give it to you. First run, yes.
Yeah.
I'll give it first run. But then like second run or third run, I'm like, oh no, I know what's going to happen.
I'm not scared.
It's the way I am.
Well, same for every game. I mean, once you know like even like horror movies, once you know what the monster looks like, it's kind of just like, all right.
Well, isn't that why like it's better to not show the monster?
Yeah.
It's
but you always got to show the monster. You need to give people a payoff. I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying they think you have to.
Right.
Because how are you going to sell a movie?
See, because I believe that the absence or like the idea of the monster is scarier than the monster.
Oh yeah.
So I've always thought that like if you have a scary story or a horror game to show, never show them. Just show like little bits here and there. It's Cloverfield's not a horror game or anything, but Cloverfield is like my best example of that.
Yeah, once you see the giant spider monster, it's just like, all right.
It's like, all right. And then like they up it by like being like, that's a baby.
That was the coolest trailer ever, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what movie I went to go see. I feel like I want to say it was Transformers.
I think I went to go see, because I remember seeing it for the first time. I think I went to go see like an Indiana Jones. I think it was like
Crystal
Skull.
Yeah, Crystal Skull.
I think it was Crystal
Shia
Skull.
LaBeouf.
Yeah, I think that's when I saw it.
You just like you don't know what it is, and it kind of looks like a Godzilla movie.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was excited.
And then it's by J.J. Abrams' production company, and it's called Bad Robot. So it's like Bad Robot, big dinosaurs. Like, what is it? It ends up being a really cool movie anyway. But you're right. Once you know what it is, you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, all right.
Okay, well, that's everything I have on my list.
Okay.
So to you, none of these were horror games.
I mean, I think Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you did say Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat's the closest one to it, and I think it could be a horror